This is a brief tutorial on some of the Board of Education policies related to the use of technology in the district. There are several ways that you can access the Board of Education Policy Manual. If you are logged into the PSD network and you have the ZenWorks window open, there is a quick link to the BOE Policy Manual here. If you double-click on this icon, it will open up a browser window where the Policies and Procedures Manual will be available. It is also linked from our school district website, which is pewaukee.schoolwires.net. And if you go to the Board of Education page and scroll down to the bottom on the right-hand side, there is a link again to the Board of Education Policy and Procedure Manual, which will open up a new browser window with that manual for you to look at the policies. I'm just going to cover a few of the highlights of those policies that are related to the use of technology in the district. The first is internet use and use of web resources. Again, just focusing on the network use and use of technologies in the district is for educational purposes, and technology users, both teachers and students and all staff, are expected to follow basic rules of courtesy and common sense when accessing electronic information. Just a couple of highlights for filtering. We are in compliance with all state and federal regulations in terms of filtering content for our students. Some of the general rules that I want to call your attention to: students must have a consent form that's signed by a parent or a guardian and is on file with the district in order to have access to our technology, which includes the network and the use of the internet. Parents and guardians complete this as part of online registration, and as a teacher, it's your responsibility to make sure that that the students have this on file, and you can check with the school office to make sure that they have parental permission to be using our computers, our network, and have access to the internet. We are a Google Suite for Education district, so all of our staff and students are assigned Google accounts with access to Gmail, Docs, Drives, and other Google applications that allow us to collaborate, communicate, and share resources with one another. Again, students really, when they're using online resources and accessing online spaces such as blogs and websites, should not post personal information about themselves on the web. This includes, but it's not really limited to, last name, personal details about address, phone number, family names, etc. Really important that we follow up and model and also remind our students that they are not to share their username and password with anyone beside a teacher or a student upon their, a teacher or a parent upon their request. So students should not be sharing their username and password to the network or to any application that's in use with anyone besides a teacher or a parent, and only if that teacher or parent is asking for that. So I'm not going to cover everything in detail, but would ask that you read through each of these policies carefully. The next policy that I'm going to cover is the Technology Acceptable Use Policy. Again, in general, district computers and use of technology is a privilege rather than a right, and it's expected to be used for educational and instructional purposes only. We do reserve the right to inspect and review computer files as necessary. Just want to call your attention to that we do permit the approved use of mobile technology devices, including tablets and cell phones and personal computers, for both students and staff. But there is limited use of those personal devices, and it should not interfere with educational information and/or employment responsibilities. If we go down to the procedures, I want to call your attention to the fact that there are student network procedures as well as staff network procedures. And again, the access to the technology in the Pewaukee School District is for educational purposes. Students are not, as well as staff, but students are not allowed to download any software applications onto district computers. We need to, again, remind them not to reveal any personal information, including their name, address, phone number, account information, passwords, to anyone. And I'll cover again, there's this comprehensive section on the use of mobile devices, in particular for students. I would ask that each of you read this section in detail because it really helps you to understand that you as the teacher are in control of how students use or if they use personal devices in the classroom. So if you want them to use a mobile phone to complete an assignment or to do research, you certainly have control over whether they can and cannot do that. And if you wanted them to use it for listening to music, etc., while they're working on another assignment, you again have more control over how to manage that. So I would ask that you read this section carefully. Staff network procedures. Again, it's all district technology and related uses for educational purposes. One of the things that I'm going to call your attention to in this procedure area is the equipment section. We ask that you not relocate any equipment, including a desktop computer, a telephone, a document camera, projector, etc., without permission from or without completing an IT help desk work request. It may seem like you can unplug a computer or device and move it from one side of the room to the other, but the jack that you may be plugging it into may not be active in terms of connectivity to data and our network services. So we ask that before you move any equipment, or if you need equipment moved, that you please complete an IT work request, and then IT will move that equipment for you. The next policy is 6511, which is the use of the district website. And the piece that I'm going to call your attention to here under procedures is related to privacy issues. I'm going to highlight just a few of these. Photos of students may be used with a first name and last initial only when on the website. Full names may not be used to identify students on the district website, or if you're using a photo or a video on your Canvas courses, etc. And again, parental consent must be obtained for an individual student's image. That's either a still photo or a video, and or their writing, music, or artwork to be included on the internet, a web page, a blog, your Canvas course. So it's up to the teacher, again, to verify with the school office to determine if the student's parent or guardian has authorized the use of media consent for the student. The next policy that I'm going to highlight is around the use of district social media. So this applies to any social media account that is in relationship to school purposes. So if it's an after-school sporting activity, a club, an extracurricular activity, a classroom social media account, and this would include Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or any other application deemed to be social media. Those accounts must be pre-approved at the district level, and there is a Google form to complete if you want to begin the use of a new district social media account. Once that account has been approved, then it is up to the person who owns that account to monitor the use of that. So again, we want to make sure that we're communicating information that's related to educational purposes, and that the owner of the account is monitoring the posting or the comments displayed in that account that is related to school purposes. And also a reminder and calling your attention to that social media sites are subject to Wisconsin public records and record retention rules and policies. So we need to make sure that we have that we're able to maintain records so that if we needed to go back in and look at postings or logs or any information related to that social media account, we can do so for a number of years prior. So these are some of the highlights of the 4 policies that specifically relate to the use of technology in the district. Again, I'm going to ask that you read over each of these policies carefully, because as an employee of the district, it's your responsibility to know how these policies impact your role as a teacher and an employee in the district.